My child, don't scroll past this, because what I'm about to reveal happened at a moment so precise, so intense, that if you miss it, you'll never fully understand what's really going on between you and your soulmate. This wasn't just another ordinary moment in your life. This was the exact second your soulmate picked up their phone, opened your chat, and started typing a message meant only for you. Yes, right at that moment. Your name was on their screen. Their mind was completely focused on you. Their heart was beating faster than usual. Because they were finally about to break the silence that has been sitting between you for so long. This wasn't random. This wasn't casual. This was something building up inside them for days, maybe even weeks. Thoughts of you kept returning to their mind no matter how much they tried to distract themselves. Your energy stayed with them in quiet moments. Your memory appeared in unexpected ways. And eventually, it reached a point where they couldn't ignore it anymore. They had to do something. They had to reach out. So they did. They opened their phone. They typed your name. They began writing a message. Maybe it was simple. Maybe it was emotional. Maybe it was something they had been holding back for a long time. But whatever it was, it carried meaning. It carried intention. It carried the power to change the connection between you. And then, something happened. Right before they could press send, everything shifted. Not slowly. Not gradually. But instantly. Like a sudden interruption that wasn't supposed to be there. Their focus broke. Their emotions pulled back. Their hand paused. And just like that, the message that was meant for you was never sent. Now erase what you need to understand. This was not just bad timing. This was not a simple distraction. Something deeper stepped in at that exact second. Something you couldn't see. Something they didn't fully understand either. But it was powerful enough to stop an action that was already in motion. And the reason this matters is because you felt it too. Maybe you didn't realize it at the time. But there was a moment recently when something felt off. A sudden thought about them. An emotion that came out of nowhere. A feeling that something was about to happen. And then, nothing. Just silence again. That wasn't your imagination. That was the echo of that exact moment. Because when a connection like this reaches that level of intensity, it doesn't stay on one side. It moves. It transfers. It reaches you even without words. And that's why you're here right now. Hearing this. At this exact time. Because something unfinished is still hanging between you. An action that almost happened, but didn't. And unfinished moments like that, they don't disappear. They grow stronger. They stay in the mind. They repeat. They create pressure. And sooner or later, they demand another chance. But before that happens, You need to understand why it was stopped in the first place. Because this wasn't just hesitation. And it wasn't just coincidence. There are layers to this. And each one reveals something important about your connection. First, there was emotion. Real, undeniable emotion. The kind that doesn't fade easily. The kind that makes someone reach out even when they've been silent for a long time. And that emotion is still there. It didn't disappear just because the message wasn't sent. Second, there was resistance. Something inside them, or around them, that created a pause at the worst possible moment. A thought, a memory, a fear. Something that made them question what they were about to do. Even though a part of them already knew they wanted to do it. And third, there was timing. Because sometimes, when something is about to happen at the wrong moment, it gets delayed. Not to stop it forever, but to prevent it from going wrong. And that's the part most people don't understand. They think silence means rejection. They think delay means disinterest. But in situations like this, silence can mean something is still being aligned. Something is still being prepared. Something is being held back until it can happen the right way. Because if that message had gone through at that exact second, things might not have unfolded the way they were meant to. Emotions might have been misunderstood. Responses might have been rushed. And instead of bringing you closer, it could have pushed you further apart. So the moment was paused. Not erased. Just paused. And now you're in the middle of that pause. That space where something almost happened. And is still trying to happen again. Because the truth is, they didn't stop thinking about you after that. If anything, the fact that they didn't send the message made everything stronger. What they held back didn't disappear. It stayed inside. It got heavier, louder, harder to ignore. And when something like that builds up, it doesn't stay quiet forever. It comes back. Stronger. More direct. More certain. Which means this isn't over. Not even close. This was just the moment before something bigger. Something is still moving behind the scenes. Even though you can't see it, even though nothing has happened on the surface yet, there is a shift building quietly, slowly, but powerfully. Because when a moment like that gets interrupted, it doesn't just end. It transforms. It turns into something heavier, something more persistent, something that keeps returning to the person who tried to act on it. And right now, that's exactly what is happening to your soulmate. They didn't just forget about that message. They didn't just move on like nothing happened. In fact, the opposite is true. What they didn't send is now repeating in their mind more than ever. The words they held back are replaying over and over again. The feeling they tried to act on hasn't disappeared. It has intensified. Because unfinished actions have a strange kind of power. They don't fade. They echo. And every time they think about you now, they don't just remember you. They remember that moment. The moment they almost reached out. The moment they stopped themselves. The moment that now feels incomplete. And that incompleteness is creating pressure. A pressure that slowly builds until it demands release. But here's where things become even more important. Because that interruption you saw in the first moment, it wasn't just a one-time event. It revealed something that is still present. Something that is still influencing their actions. Something that is still standing between you and that connection fully happening. And this is what most people never realize. Sometimes, it's not just internal hesitation. Sometimes, there is an external force. An influence. A situation. Or even a person whose energy is affecting the timing of everything. This doesn't always mean something negative or intentional. But it does mean one thing. Your connection is not unfolding in isolation. There are other factors involved. Other energies, other circumstances, other pressures that are shaping how and when things happen. And right now, those factors are still active. Maybe your soulmate is dealing with something they haven't told you about. Something that makes them feel uncertain, distracted, or emotionally blocked. Maybe there is someone around them whose presence creates doubt or confusion. Maybe it's their own past, something unresolved that keeps pulling them back just when they try to move forward. Whatever it is, it hasn't fully released them yet. And that's why the message didn't go through. But listen carefully. Because this part matters more than anything else. Even with that interference. Even with that delay. They still reached the point of action once. And that means they can reach it again. But next time, it won't be the same. Because now, the feeling is stronger. The awareness is deeper. The pull toward you is more intense than before. And when something like that grows over time, it starts to break through resistance. It starts to override fear. It starts to weaken whatever was holding it back. And that's exactly the phase you're entering right now. A phase where things begin to shift again. Where silence starts to feel unstable. Where distance becomes harder to maintain. Where the need to act becomes stronger than the reasons not to. And when that balance changes, action follows. But there's one more thing you need to understand before that happens. Your role in this moment. Because even though you didn't send the message, even though you weren't the one holding the phone, your energy is still part of this connection. And how you respond to this silence, how you hold your thoughts, how you react emotionally, it all feeds into the dynamic between you. If you fall into doubt, the connection feels heavier. If you assume it's over, the distance grows stronger. But if you stay aware, if you understand that something is still unfolding, then you remain aligned with what's trying to happen next. And alignment changes timing. Because the truth is, this connection hasn't been cut. It hasn't been broken. It hasn't ended. It has only been paused at a critical moment. A moment that is now building toward its return. And when it returns, it won't be subtle. It won't be halfway. It won't be almost. It will be clear, direct, and impossible to ignore. Because the next time they reach out, they won't want to stop themselves again. They won't want to repeat the same unfinished moment. They will want to complete it. To finally say what they held back. To finally break the silence that has stretched between you. And when that happens, you'll understand why everything had to pause before moving forward. And now, everything is reaching a point where it can no longer stay the same. Because what was paused is not meant to remain unfinished forever. It was only held back until the moment became strong enough to carry it forward without breaking. And that moment is getting closer than you realize. There is a difference between something that ends and something that waits. What you are experiencing right now is not an ending. It's a waiting phase. A quiet build-up before movement returns. And even though it feels like nothing is happening, everything is actually aligning beneath the surface. Slowly. Precisely. In ways you cannot see yet. Your soulmate is not where they were before. They have shifted. Even if they haven't acted on it yet. Because when someone reaches the point of almost speaking their truth, they don't go back to who they were before that moment. Something changes inside them. Something opens. Something becomes impossible to ignore. And that change is still growing. Right now, they are thinking more deeply than before. Feeling more intensely than before. Questioning the silence more than before. Because now they know what it feels like to almost break it. And once someone experiences that, staying silent becomes harder every day. Because silence starts to feel like pressure. Distance starts to feel unnatural. And the connection starts pulling stronger than ever. This is the shift. The moment where hesitation begins to lose its control. Where whatever interrupted them before starts to weaken. Where the reasons to stay silent slowly fall apart. And when that happens, the next action becomes inevitable. Not forced. Not random. But unavoidable. Because something inside them will reach a point where it refuses to stay quiet any longer. And when that moment arrives, they won't hesitate the same way. They won't stop themselves the same way. They won't let the message remain unfinished again. They will follow through. Completely. And when they do, it won't feel like a surprise. It will feel like something that was always meant to happen. Something that was delayed, but never denied. Because everything you felt during that silence, every thought, every emotion, every moment of wondering, was connected to this exact outcome. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. It was all part of the build-up, the preparation, The alignment. My child. This is the moment where you stop questioning whether something will happen, and start understanding that something is already in motion. You were never as far from this connection as it seemed. You were only in the space between two moments. The moment that was stopped, and the moment that is about to return. So don't let the silence confuse you. Don't let the delay make you doubt. Because what almost happened once is far more powerful than something that never tried to happen at all. And that means one thing. This connection is not finished. It is building toward completion. Very soon, the silence will break. Very soon, the message will not be held back. Very soon, what was once stopped will finally reach you. And when it does, everything will make sense. And when the message finally reaches you, everything shifts in a way you didn't expect. Not loudly, not dramatically at first, but deeply. Like something inside you recognizes it instantly. Like a moment you've already lived before, now finally happening in real time. Because when something is delayed for this long, it doesn't arrive casually. It arrives with weight, with meaning, with everything that was held back attached to it. This won't be just a simple message. It will carry hesitation, emotion, unfinished thoughts, and the truth they couldn't say before. And the first thing you will notice is the energy behind it. Not the words. The energy. Because you will feel the difference between someone who is just talking and someone who finally decided to stop holding back. And in that moment, you'll realize something important. The silence was never empty. It was full. Full of everything they couldn't express until now. But this is where your moment begins. Because what happens next depends on how you receive it. Not just what you say, but how you respond internally. Because this connection, it's not fragile, but it is sensitive. It responds to energy, to awareness, to timing. And now, the timing is no longer blocked. This is the point where most people make a mistake. They react too quickly. They respond from confusion, from past hurt, from overthinking. Instead of understanding the depth of what just happened. Instead of recognizing that this moment was built over time, carefully, step by step. So when that message comes, pause. Not in silence, but in awareness. Feel it. Understand it. Recognize what it took for that moment to finally happen. Because this is not just about a message. This is about a cycle completing. A moment that was once interrupted, now finding its way back to you. Stronger, clearer, and impossible to stop this time. And here something even deeper. This won't be the end of the connection. This will be the beginning of a new phase. Because once the silence breaks, everything that follows starts moving faster, more directly, more honestly. The distance that once felt confusing starts to close. The uncertainty begins to fade, and what was once hidden starts becoming visible. But only if you don't fall back into doubt. Only if you don't question what is already unfolding. Only if you allow the moment to be what it truly is. Because what almost didn't happen has now happened. And that changes everything. Very few connections reach this point, where something is stopped, delayed, tested, and still finds its way back. But yours did. And that means this story isn't random. It's intentional. It's guided. And it's moving exactly where it needs to go. So stay aware. Stay steady. Because what comes next will not feel like confusion anymore. It will feel like clarity. It will feel like direction. It will feel like something finally making sense after a long time of silence. And just when you think you understand everything, another shift will begin. One that goes deeper than just a message. One that reveals why this connection was delayed in the first place. Because the truth is, this was never just about them reaching out. It was about what happens after they do. And that is where everything truly begins.